Welcome to a Milk Market Tidbit for the July Dairy Products Report that USDA released last Friday. I was in Boston all weekend, so this is a little bit delayed. So I'm recording this on Tuesday, September the 10th. As usual, the Dairy Products Report kind of pulls everything together for the month that actually comes out usually the first part of the next month. It's the third report after the milk production report and the cold storage report. And then all three of these tie together to give us a good picture of what happened that month. A little bit of background before we get started. This was the last global dairy trade. It was down a little bit, but more importantly, we just are not going to be exporting much product. Butter is too high on the spot market. Cheddar's too high on the spot market. Non-fat dry milk is too high on the spot market. So we're not expecting exports to kind of continue on here. And what we saw this month, the production of cheese was about 1.19 billion pounds. We exported about 89 million, which is about 7.5% of the actual production. Typical is about 6.9. So I would say that, we probably exported about 7 million pounds more than we would have typical. And you just kind of keep that in mind as to how the different pieces came together. Here's the big picture for the month. All the actual data is here in July. We have the final of the previous month, the typical, and then what StoneX. And so we're looking at is the cheese production. This came in higher than StoneX had it, and actually a little bit higher than we had, but lower than last month on a 30-day basis. Now you got to remember, whenever it comes in higher than you expect, that says that demand must have been good. Butter came in right where we expected it, right, consistent with StoneX, not too far off of the typical, but down a little bit from last month, 168 basically down to 162. Now a few things that we can calculate is how much milk went into cheese, and that turned out to be about 63%, assuming 10 pounds of milk make 1 pound of cheese. That was up from what we had last month, so that's a little bit more. And butter ended up about 17% of the total fat. Again, the biggest piece of total fat is cheese. Cheese production being down this month was not surprising because when we got the federal milk marketing data, it showed that the class 3 utilization was actually down a little bit from last month. So that was very consistent. And again, the other thing that we always look at in this graph is, how does our capacity look? And we had our max capacity back here in the end of 2022, which means that we've not added any more cheese plants. This rise here was probably a cheese plant. So if we look at the cheese to milk ratio, this has kind of changed direction here in 2022. We've been increasing, but it looks like we're putting more milk into cheese in the last 3 years than we had historically over the last 7. And this came in, as we said, a little bit higher than we had expected. So more milk went into cheese. If we look at our production, this was very good. Again, there seems to be a break here in 2022, but one of the things that we can discern from this is we've got the highest cheese production that we've ever had for July this last month. And that cheese production came in at 38.4 million pounds a day. So one of the graphs I love to plot out after we get the dairy products report is this rolling disappearance, because disappearance is very hard to measure on a month-to-month basis. Again, the reason is that fresh cheese can kind of be in limbo for 30 days before it has to go into cold storage. So there's a little bit of a disparity between when the stocks change and what the production is. But anyway, on a rolling basis, the disappearance is higher than the production. And in fact, you can even see this in July. Our disappearance, 39,158,000, whereas the actual production was 38,412,000. So there's about 700,000 pounds a day that we're actually short. So less cheese is being made than is disappearing. Percentage of the different types of cheese has been changing over time. Italian has been the highest, but declining. Cheddar has actually been increasing a little bit, and other cheeses have been increasing a little bit. But this particular month, Italian was right on that long-term trend. Cheddar was a little bit under, American was quite a bit under, and the other cheeses were a little bit better. So what this is telling us is that the Italian type cheeses are being favored over cheddar and American. Here's our daily production of American cheese. It came in a little bit better than we thought it would seasonally, but again, we've had this break to where it's gone up, and then now it's relatively flat. So American type cheeses, has been relatively flat for the last 3 years. While cheddar cheese is on a downturn, so it was increasing through 2022, and then we've been very much on a downward trend. Italian type cheeses, were increasing fairly steep, and then they flattened out, but they're still increasing. And we've got our highest July production for Italian type cheeses that we've had in this data. Now we move into the other products, and these got to be kind of interesting. Whey production is decreasing significant, and this is probably why the whey prices are pushing 60 cents a pound at this point. Fat makes up about 17 to 18% of the total fat. This is fairly flat for quite a while, and it seems to be on an increase at this point. We have to keep in mind that the fat percentage in milk has just been going up something significant. So as we see a declining milk supply, but a higher percentage in fat, that says that there actually might be more fat around even in the smaller milk supply. So that's the thing that's making a little bit of this hard to interpret. Here's our daily butter production. Is very seasonal, and really it's been on more or less the same trend. Yes, it broke it here in 2022, but those are very similar trends. So nothing strange about butter production. One of the things I like to look at is the ratio between pounds of butter and pounds of non-fat dry milk. This was fairly flat through about 2022, and then all of a sudden this is taking off significantly to where we're getting more butter than non-fat dry milk. So what this is suggesting is that butter is being made from churning fat from skimming off of other areas, as opposed to a butter powder plant that's skimming cream off to get non-fat dry milk. If we look at the dollar value of butter relative to non-fat dry milk, a lot of this changed in summer of 2022, where butter became more valuable. We had this big spike up in December of last year. It's actually turning down, but part of the reason that it's turning down is non-fat dry milk is increasing quite reasonably here, so it's becoming a higher value while butter is more or less staying the same. This is the production of ice cream. Again, very seasonal. We're very low in the wintertime, very high. This is also split in 2022, where we were decreasing at a fairly good clip, and now we seem to be kind of reversing that trend and coming up a little bit. And this production was much better than we thought it would be, given the seasonal trends. Yogurt was increasing at a slow rate, and now it's increasing at a much faster rate. And again, that was very strong production of yogurt in July. The one that has really changed directions is cottage cheese. This has kind of become the new health food craze. And we've got the highest production in July that we've ever had. And this has really changed significantly since 2022 to where this is increasing, fairly rapid pace here. The dairy products report finished up last week. So now we're into the next week. Here we're going to have the National Dairy Sales Report tomorrow, the WASDE report, and we're going to start getting the statistical uniform prices on Thursday, then our typical dairy slaughter and spot milk prices. So this will be the last milk market tidbit until we get the federal milk marketing data, and I'll get you a report for that.